Alright, so MMOs lately have been going through a weird change. A lot of people have been wanting to see something different out of the MMO genre. People have been getting bored of MMOs, quitting, talking about them, what's gone wrong, what's changed, and the MMO genre in general has been changing a lot recently. We've seen World of Warcraft dying and on its final legs right now, unless Blizzard pulls something off. Final Fantasy 14 has exploded and kind of stolen the spotlight from every other MMO. It's a pretty big change. That is a really big change. WoW was the king for a very long time, so that's a big shift in the MMO genre and the MMO atmosphere, and there's definitely a reason for it. So we're gonna go over that. Why do people play MMOs? And I have 7 reasons I've listed here, and these are the reasons I think things are changing. So let's go into the first one, which is number one, the sense of community. One of the big changes I've seen in a lot of MMOs is that as the games have moved forward and gotten more advanced, they've gotten more distance in terms of community interaction. You no longer have to ask people in game for help if you need help with a dungeon or raid. You just find someone on Discord or something like that to do it with, or use a look for group finder or whatever. And it shrinks the need to interact with other players, especially with the advent of so many fast travels in the games now. A lot of games allow you to just kind of teleport wherever you want to go. So if you're a lower level, a higher level can kind of just teleport you and carry you to through the content. The addition of convenience mechanics like shops where you can get anything take away from the need to interact with other players. And while I can understand this makes the gameplay experience of solo players better, it does end up taking away from the community necessity that existed before of needing to go to the auction house or needing to trade with other players and things like that. It just made it far too easy to gather some of the necessities of the game. And I think the second reason, moving on to that, is the longevity of content and the commitment of it. Content doesn't need to be as long with the advent of better and faster development and larger profits for game devs due to the increased audience size in the gaming sphere. Devs no longer focus on making content that can last a super long time, but instead content that will last until the next update, and not at the fault of devs, mind you. This is not devs' fault. This would be at the fault of executives who care more about extracting everything they can from your pockets than they care about you enjoying the game. So devs are now forced into a position where they're rushed to make just enough content to keep players around just long enough for the next update so they can release some more microtransactions. Games no longer need to be released in a completed state even. Executives can force devs to release half-finished games and update them to a final product over time. A number of games have followed this pattern, including Ark, COD Vanguard, Halo Infinite, Icarus. As much as I like Icarus, it is in a early release state and it should not have been released. And of course, the infamous Cyberpunk 2077 and New World, along with many other games. It's a scummy practice that will only stop when gamers wait to see how well developed a game is before they buy it and no longer buy broken games. These scummy practices only stop if it hurts the company's pocket. That's why you see a lot of people shifting away from these games that are covered in microtransactions like World of Warcraft and just take away from the experience of something like earning a mount. In World of Warcraft, you no longer earn the cool mounts, you go and buy them for $20 from the shop, and they take the time to develop them for the shop rather than develop your mounts and things and cosmetics in general for the dungeons and the raids and the hard content that you want to grind. So it takes a lot away from the experience. Um, Moving on to the third point is the world and lore. The development of a game world and its lore used to be a lot more important. People used to care a lot more about deep lore in their games. However, this has become much less important to many players. But with that, in a lot of cases, there's been a loss of meaning to the progression of the game. A lot of people kind of haven't realized it, I think, but they've stopped investing in story and stuff, and a lot of people just don't want to keep playing because of that. They don't feel a reason to keep progressing in the game. So now you're just kind of grinding to try and get to the end game where there's content to actually care about. This is something you saw a lot in New World. The story just doesn't exist until the very end game, and that's where all the content is. And that is a problem because new players don't want to grind to the end game, or casual players, I guess, not new players. They want to get straight to the good stuff. If I have to play a game for 2 hours before the game gets good, majority of players are going to quit before the game gets good. It's a horrible argument. People like Josh Strife Hayes have talked a lot about this, and I love their points on this. If you cannot tell someone that the game gets good, because most people do not care if the game gets good. They want the game to be good now. There's no reason that the game has to be bad at the beginning and good at the end. It can be good all the way through if they just design it well. So the priority has moved on the world and lore. The priority has moved from interesting missions and characters to as much content, whether it be interesting or not, into the game as possible just to keep you playing longer and keep you wanting to buy microtransactions and making money. I think the fourth big thing is people are tired of being a Mary Sue. Many players have gotten bored of the fact that in every single MMO, you're the special main character that's going to save or change the world somehow, and most people just want to be an adventurer. That's why people love things like Classic WoW to some extent, is I don't want to be some special overpowered character that can kill gods from the very beginning of the game. I just want to be an adventurer or someone normal that advances, and eventually, I make an impact. Eventually, I get strong enough to be someone who can kill gods, someone who is renowned, but that takes time. It's not fun because you no longer feel like you're progressing if you come into the game already being called powerful or chosen or any number of things. Um, I need a reason that I'm powerful, not just existence. I shouldn't come into the world and just instantly powerful. I need to accomplish something to get there. It takes away from that sense of purpose that you feel from the beginning, because you're not accomplishing anything with your own work. You're being given a special treatment, and that's the only reason you get anywhere in a lot of these games in the lore, and it feels boring and bland. People have been the main character hundreds of times. That's what you are in a lot of RPGs. That's why a lot of people play RPGs. But in MMO, you want to accomplish things through your own hard work, time, and planning. That's part of an MMO. People want to commit time. They want to put hundreds of hours into a game, and that's what MMOs are made for typically. So obviously, you want to feel as though you're making some kind of character progression with those hours. Moving to my fifth point, and I brought this up a little bit earlier, but cosmetics. In MMOs, it used to be that cosmetics were earned through doing the end game content, such as hard dungeons or raids or grinding out dungeons and things, in order to earn like a special mount or a special outfit or a special transmog, any number of things. In many MMOs, the end game was or is grinding for special or cool mounts or gear, and that was what made people want to grind and keep playing the game, was getting these exclusive things that no one else had and being the only one that had this really cool cosmetic, or one of the few, because you did some really hard content. But that's changed recently, with the addition of microtransactions into almost every game we play. And with the addition of that, many devs have begun to develop cosmetics, and executives decide that those are primarily now for microtransactions because it makes the company more money, rather than developing them as a reward for difficult endgame content, which is what a lot of people want. You want to earn it, not spend money of it. It takes away from what made players want to grind a lot. Now you're either just grinding for the highest power level possible or hitting the end game, and at that point, a lot of people feel as though there's no value to what they're doing, and they'll quit the game once they get to the max value level. Or like once they get to the max number, rather, I guess. They'll do the content one time through, get off, and go play something else until there's a new update that brings more content to the game. And I'm going to follow this up with something being drip feeding content, and this is my sixth and final point. And I think many devs, and I think Destiny is one of the most guilty of this. Many devs have begun to, instead of letting players govern how quickly they want to progress through content, they started releasing content of a new expansion on a drip rather than all at once. A great example of this is the recent Destiny expansion Beyond Light. The expansion came out, the raid released, and I completed every single piece of available content within the first 18 hours of the DLC release. I stayed up all night and grinded out because I was so excited, and I finished everything and found out that I had to come back in 2 weeks in order to play the next piece of content. I paid for a piece of content. I should not have to wait for that piece of content I paid for. And I've heard a lot of people have this frustration. It's not up to the company how quickly you're going to complete content. It's up to you how quickly you want to complete the content that you paid for. They're trying to take advantage of you and force you to come back to their game every week because they want to sell you the new microtransaction or any number of things. And it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's not fair to the consumer. Let the player play the content when they get to the content. Destiny 2 did this with the expansion earlier, fantastically, called Forsaken. When players reached the endgame and completed the raid that was available for that expansion, it added a whole bunch of content to the game because players had reached the point where they were ready for the content. The devs did not decide when the players were ready for the content. They allowed them to play the content when it came out. It wasn't scheduled. It wasn't put in a certain time. It was just once the players hit a progression mechanic, they made it and they unlocked a bunch of content. It's really cool. And people praise this. A lot of people consider this one of the best MMO DLCs to ever be released. So, many players get frustrated with devs releasing content they paid for over time when they paid to get access to the content they want, and they want to get far enough to play it, and they want access to it when they get far enough to play it, not when the devs decide it's time to feed them that content. So, obviously, I appreciate you guys watching to the end of this video. Those are my 6 reasons that I think MMOs are kind of, changing a lot and we're kind of reverting back to what MMOs used to be, progression-wise and things. And let me know what you agree with or disagree with down in the comments. I'd love to hear how you feel. I don't think I'm alone in this because I've heard other opinions on this, but, what are your issues with new MMOs? Have I hit the spot on all these or am I missed slightly off or something? Give me your ideas. I'd love to know. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps a ton, and it helps my videos go up in the YouTube algorithm, helps me get more views, subscribers, so on and so forth. So if you enjoy my content, make sure to do that, and I hope you guys all have a fan-freaking-tastic night. This is your boy Yays, peace and out.